All right, what's good? You already know what it is. It's your boy Diesel. It is Mood Monday, and we're going to jump straight into this one. It's super simple. It breaks down to be, do, have, right? But before I get into that, I want to start with this: the art of asking better questions, right? I was listening to, I believe it was a pastor. He was just saying we need to ask ourselves better questions because we have self-talk, and a lot of self-talk is negative talk or dismissive talk, right? Where we'll be like, that'll never work. Or if that doesn't work, then what? Or a lot of the time we just come up with the worst case scenario for stuff. And we use those made up and imaginary possibilities in order to tell ourselves why we're not doing something or why we shouldn't do something or why we couldn't do something. And then we never do anything. And this is where it breaks down into be and do. You feel me? Because if we asked ourselves other questions, as in what happens when this does work? What do I do after this does work? What do I do after I get this job? What do I do after I get the vacation? What do I do after I get this much money? Then we'll be doing things completely differently and moving from a completely different place. Instead of moving from a place of fear and being hesitant, we'll be moving from a place of positive possibility and we'll be motivated, right? And so I want to relate this to what he said: be, do, have. In order to be something, you have to do something. So if I decide that I am a teacher, I must now teach. If I decide I'm an athlete, I must now be athletic and do athlete things. I have to go to the gym. I have to exercise. I have to actually compete in my realm. Now I can have something. Once I start actually working my body out, working my mind out, and studying and training to become this athlete, I'm doing something. And then I also get to be in games that's doing something, competing. But now I have something as well. I have teammates. I have a schedule. I have a title. Once I'm on the team, I'm sure I'm going to get a position. And then from there, I can get accolades. I can win a trophy. But before I decided to be the athlete, I didn't have accolades. I didn't have teammates. I didn't have a jersey. I didn't have a schedule. I didn't have any of these things because I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't able to be anything because I wasn't doing anything. And I feel like a lot of us get to a place of imagination and then we freeze when it's time to actually take the action because we have to do things. We have to put the work in. But before we do all of this work, we sit there and remind ourselves of all the negatives that might happen. What if this doesn't happen? What if I spend this money and it doesn't return? What if I don't learn the program? What if I'm bad at taking photos? What if I break the camera? What if somebody steals the computer? What if I don't get the job? What if I put in all this time to acquire the resources and it just doesn't work for whatever reason? I decide I don't like it. Those are all excuses to not do the work. Because once you decide you want to be that thing and you start doing stuff, you'll start obtaining more. So even if you get into this position and you decide this position isn't what I wanted, you now have more of an idea. You have something from doing that. You now have insight. You have intel. You have an opinion. Before, you just had ideas and limitations that you were imposing. But after you start doing it, you were like, okay, I surpassed that limit. I beat my own expectation that time. So now I have some confidence. I have some knowledge. I have some experience. And I can take that and do something else with it and be something else, which means I'm going to do something else. But before you get to the point of deciding that you want to be, you're just sitting on your hands, essentially, because you're not doing the work. What is the work that you're doing if you didn't decide what you were going to be? And so a lot of the time, the work has risk that's associated with it, whether it's financial, whether it's relational, whether it's your time. But if you never do the work, you will never have the thing. You cannot obtain the title. You cannot obtain the success. You cannot obtain the platform, the wealth, without doing the work. If you want to be a talk show host, first you have to start talking. If you've never done public speaking, if you've never hosted anything, how do you go from the idea to actualizing the thing? By doing the work. And so, yes, you might get on stage and be embarrassed. Yes, you might get on stage and the people don't laugh. Yes, you might get on stage and the whole production falls apart. But now you know that you obtained some knowledge. And I seen this person on that platform one time before. I didn't go to the show. I saw the flyer and the online posting that showed it was going to be you there. And I know this is something that you do. So I'm asking you to come do it here. I didn't even know the last one failed. I just saw the success from the post and the media. So I'm assuming it went well, right? I'm not about to tell you it bombed. I'm just going to take all the information from the last time that it bombed, everything that worked well that I did, and I'm going to replicate that. But you would never get to that point if you didn't decide what you wanted to be and then take the required steps to start doing that thing. You said if you are a teacher, you can't be a teacher if you're not teaching anybody. Teachers talk to people. Teachers give people information. They show people how to learn. They show people about themselves. What are you teaching if you're a teacher? And so at the end of the day, a lot of this also just boils down to self-talk, because self-talk is inevitable. I already said that. We all say things to ourselves every day. We have things running through our heads every day, right? But with that, if we took those thoughts and took every single one and turned it into a positive, what happens after I do get this? Where am I going to be in 10 years after this? What knowledge am I gaining from this experience? What information will I learn from this encounter, this interaction, this event? It could be as simple as going to a park you've never been to. You might meet somebody in the park. You might see a sunset view that you've never seen. You might see a type of bird you've never seen. Like, if you're an artist, you might be inspired to write the best thing you've ever written or draw the best picture you've ever drawn. Like, if you lead outdoor classes or activities, you might stumble upon a great place to go for your next trip. You don't know until you go. That's a beautiful statement. You don't know until you go. Go right there. And then this is something I want to leave you guys with. Here's a quote. A wise man's eyes are in his head. Now, to me, that means that a wise man is not just looking at the external circumstances. And he is also aware that any vision that he holds in his mind's eye is able to be brought to fruition. So instead of looking at the circumstance, I'm going to mold the circumstance to the vision in my head. Because everything in this world started as an idea in somebody's head, and they just did the work in order to bring it into fruition. They did the thing in order to have the idea come to life. So I'm going to just leave y'all with that.